Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. Glad to see the chat's buzzing already. Hello, Crispin. Hello, Demon Sub. Hello.
Darren's already shouting out what he's up to.
Oh, God, look at this. They're ahead of us. About to paint
Fucking
more
hell.
lizard men this evening. Good stuff, Demon Sub. Hello, Tim. Good God, mate. They beat you.
Back from his excursion.
Did you enjoy your Legion? I hope you did. I hope it was a good game. Battle report incoming, presumably, on the old chats. On the old, not chats, on the project system. If not, Jerry will be on your case. Hello, Cheese Me. You're going to have to put us all out of a misery, Crispin. What the hell are you, Grandpa? What's this, Grandpa Joe? That's about the 12th time you've put Grandpa Joe in the chat. So either you've developed some sort of keyboard tick, or
it's your new nickname.
Or it's, well, yeah. I mean, I don't mind as long as I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll have to go put an explanation in the chat. So yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to another live stream. Well, mate. Let's crack on with the agenda. For those of you who've not seen us before or are catching us later on YouTube, tonight's show is going to be a couple of hours. David and I are going to go through our usual format. So the first thing that we'll do is have a quick chat about what we're hobbying on at the moment and what we're going to be doing while we chat with you guys. Apparently, Grandpa Joe is the most evil character. We told Ben to call him Grandpa Joe now. Oh my God, it gets more and more cryptic. So yeah, we're going to be...
we asked for an answer, not a fucking riddle to solve, boys.
Yeah, it's sort of like, hello, have I walked into some sort of D&D adventure? What the fuck? So with us Sphinx's riddle. So yeah, we're going to chat.
Into delight.
We're going to be chatting about what we're going to be doing over the next couple of hours. We've already got Demon Sub. He's painting Lizard Man. So the rest of you guys, we give Crispin a pass because he's normally at the work. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was what came up when I googled Grandpa Joe.
Still doesn't answer the question.
Unless they do mean me, which is fine. Some sort of bedridden old git who basically learns how to fly when visiting a chocolate factory.
Can also do a mean dance when he's offered a golden ticket.
So yeah, after we've done that, we will have a quick chat about what we did at club on Monday, because we played a game together, didn't we, mate? With Wayne.
Oh yes, we did actually. I forgot. I completely forgot about that.
Then we will prattle on a little bit about
some news items.
And then at about 10 o'clock, about 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Sorry.
Fucking hell! Adding an hour to the stream already. Jesus.
I don't think so. About 9 o'clock, we will discuss our main topic, which is something that we've touched upon before, and I know that there's quite a lot of opinions on it in our sort of community. Model design and the level of detail that goes into models and the whole fucking...
Or people coming up with flawless ideas.
The whole can of worms that is... Okay. Yes, yeah, we will be... Yes, Limburger Cheeseby, we will be talking about the infamous tank, as was we'll be getting to the bottom of it, won't we?
Well, it's a bit pointless, really, because it's got no bottom to it. It is a bottomless pit, but this is GW we're on about.
Yeah, obviously we'll get to that at 9 o'clock, and then we'll sort of wrap things up around 10ish. So then, mate, do you want me to go first, or
no? No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Right,
we're going.
David, let's go. David, what are you up to tonight, mate?
I'm putting green on some minis. So we've got boots to do, strapping to do. Then with all that done, we're going to start going in and blocking out the black and armor, the gunmetal. Maybe even get the details done tonight. Who knows? We'll see how we go. How she fares. But I want to get the feet done.
So you're going for like a military or sort of military green.
Yeah.
For,
I want to get the feet done, so I'm putting this base colour down. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to wash it, wait for the wash to dry, get them glued down, and then I'm going to go do the other bits because I'm fed up of holding the mini like this because it's not on the base.
Yeah, it must be really irritating not to have them on the bases or to put them in a clamp. That's
getting these down.
That flesh tone
as
is looking good
possible.
though, sir.
Oh well, we're going to go one better than that. We're going to pull in.
Ooh, that is really good. That is a really nice Afro-Caribbean skin recipe, son. I like that a lot. You will have to go on. Give us a quick debrief on that. So it's
debrief on that
because it's immortalized on the internet, and then I can nick it.
It is chocolate brown from Vallejo.
Yeah, base
washed
coat
with Drucci.
Yeah.
Go back in with chocolate to tidy the surfaces up.
Yeah, and get rid of any
and then,
spotching.
Unfortunately, you will never be able to replicate it because you refuse to buy GW paints.
Okay.
Right. Brown is the highlight colour.
Have you have you looked and seen if there's a parallel model colour?
No, I haven't. I just used what I had in front of me.
No, that's fine. I will have a look and see what's the closest match to Gorthor on the comparison chart.
And then we also have.
Then did you do a second highlight, or was that it?
That was it.
So basically, chocolate brown, Drucci, Gorthor.
Yeah, chocolate brown, Drucci, chocolate brown, Gorthor.
Do you know what? That's probably why it looks so good. You haven't overworked it. I'm liking it, son.
And then we have
I'm liking it a lot. Looks great against the orange. I will be so nicking that.
So
yeah, liking the flesh tones on them. Liking them a lot. They're coming along.
We got a bit of variety.
Excelente, Presidente.
Right, what are you working on this evening then, boy?
So, I've got a ton of things to do, and honestly, I don't know what to do first. The thing that, in terms of painting...
Cheers, Darren.
I'm working my way through the Strigoi. I'm doing these flesh tones. This is kicking my ass. Because I wanted to go for like a weird skin effect, we've got that really dark blue, red underneath, and then I've gone over with like a bluey grey. But it's a hybrid paint. It's got a mid beige and then a blue grey, and I've sort of mixed it 50-50 so that it's got a bit more warmth to it than a grey would have. And I like the colour, but because of the way it's contrasting with the red underneath, I'm having to really crisply paint every single muscle group, and it's kicking my ass. I so regret it, because while I think the effect will look really good at the end, oh mate, have I painted this? I have painted this on hard mode squared.
You've done a me.
Yeah. The only other thing I'm undecided at the minute is what to do with the wings, because I want the wings to be a slightly different tone in the same.
I told you, purple.
Yeah. I want the wings to be in the same area, but I definitely want a clearly defined tone difference between the wing skin and the main body of it. So that is on tonight's schedule. But I thought what I might do first, because it's kicking my ass and breaking my spirit, is I thought what I would do first. I don't know if you guys know. So we are model colour fans, David and I. But what I find a bit frustrating about model colour in the current incarnation is Vallejo use a really creamy white plastic, which makes the colour. It throws off all of the colours.
Terrible.
Plus, one criticism I will make of model colour: the colour change on drying for about a third of the range is huge. So the wet paint looks absolutely nothing like its dry counterpart for at least a third of them. I don't know if you'd agree, mate. The darker ones are fine, but the paler ones, they change so much. So what I do...
I've not really said that that's much of an issue in my experience, but
Well,
I would probably say it's more like a fifth
okay.
of the range, so 20%.
Fair enough. Maybe I'm over-egging it. But anyway, it's pissed me off in the past. So what I do is I literally scratch the bottle tops with a file so that they take the paint, because they're very glossy, obviously, and smooth. And then just give them a couple of coats of the actual paint colour. So then when the bottles are all racked up, I can use the lid as a reference point for my paint colour. And I just have a small batch of these to do. So I'm just going to quickly whiz round, rough the tops, get some paint on them.
So you're not painting miniatures tonight, you're painting Vallejo.
Yeah,
with Vallejo.
Because the other thing that I do, and I don't know if you do it as well, David, I put agitators in these.
Oh yeah, I put agitators in. That reminds me, I've actually got a batch to add agitators to. But
so the first thing I'm going to do is literally, it's a totally mindless job, but it's a job that I need to get done. I'm just going to go through these bottles, paint the lids, add the agitators, and get them ready for use. So those are my two things for tonight.
I've got four guys' boots left to paint.
So what's Assassin's Creed's in the chat. There's a shock. I hope you guys who are going on about Assassin's Creed have had a look at my video of the new mission, which I've put up on our YouTube channel and put on the project system.
I wandered into bloody Tim's live stream on Tuesday, and it didn't even take me 30 seconds of fucking saying, "Hi guys," for what about Assassin's Creed to be popping up, and it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake, boys and girls. Yeah,
Limburger, it is super clear, the super sharp definition on the muscles, because basically that model's got nothing on it. It is just literally muscles. It's going to be... I think the end effect's going to be great, but
getting there's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, it's work. And I've had things a bit easy for a while. I've been doing a lot of speed paint projects, so I'm getting my ass kicked.
David called you out. David encouraged you to not speed paint those. You're immediately regretting it.
Attack on Titan vibes, Demon Sub says.
Anime. I think I got that some.
Right. Explains why I don't know what you mean, because I'm not a massive anime fan, but I'll Google it and see if it gives me any ideas. Thanks, Jerry. The audio,
Jerry's here, really?
I apologise for the audio, but I was mate, the fucking post on that with all the card slides and all that bollocks. Holy crap, was that a learning curve? Still, it came out okay in the end. What I want to try and do, what I might do is some, if I can work out how to do it without it looking like absolute dog shit, is to do some like B-roll footage to pretty the next one up so that I can do like passes of the painted models tighter in on the board, because the zoomed out shot is fine to show what's going on, but it would be nicer to get some close-up shots of the painted models, and I think probably the easiest thing to do is, like I say, play it through, then do some setups and B-roll shots with the old mobile, and then just copy those clips in. But you're from doing it, it's like work. You're just making work.
That's unlike you.
Sweet. Yeah, well, new year, new me.
What, like new year, new me, and actually getting shit on with shit?
Yeah, new year, new me, do everything on fucking hard mode. YouTube videos and painting.
Meanwhile, David's actually playing into the painting this year.
Yeah, you're doing great, son. Don't let the Assassin's Creed shit fucking derail you. Don't knock him, guys. He's fucking pulling out all the stops this year. So yeah, let's crack on with some work. So Monday night, a club night, David and I played a new game. It was new for you as well, wasn't it, mate?
Yes, it was new for me. Fistful of Lead.
New for us. Obviously, it's not a new game. We played Fistful of Lead, as David said. I'll see if I can bring up the picture. So...
oh shit, I didn't send you my pictures that I took. Because fuck me, that table did look gorgeous.
Yeah, the table did look pretty good. He's going too fast. We have to slow him down. Don't even joke about it, Limburger. Oh my god. So yeah.
Ow! I just drank beer and it's gone down the wrong hole. I'll be back in a minute.
We did a 3-player game. Now, it was brand new to me. One of the things that I did sort of realise looking at it was that it's not really a game that suits 3-player probably that well. A lot of the scenarios are
Two or four.
very much focused around 2 players. And it didn't seem that it was like an easy fit for a 3-player game. Oh, don't tell me that it hasn't uploaded. That's so annoying.
I see Tim can't even be asked with the what about Assassin's Creed hashtag that we've got going on. He's just gone, fuck it, what about stuff? German efficiency, that. German efficiency.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. As I say, I'm still on the road to learning how to do things really well, but I was happy with. The thing is, each video, hopefully, you do a little bit more. Clipping my gobos from the ambush set. What's that, Limburger? It's
ambush. I know what it is.
Oh,
I know what it is.
It's Kings of War. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. No, 2-part epoxy is not nice on fingers. Unless you get the stuff that takes 24 hours to set, in which case you've got forever to get it off. No, I am never buying that again. 5-minute epoxy for me. Jesus. He complains when he says he complains when he doesn't say it. Oh, what do they say to him? Can't win. Don't try.
Look, the British like to give the Germans a hard time.
That's true. So yeah.
Just saying, Tim. Just saying. We love you, really.
Yeah. So Fistful of Lead. Well, I played with just a handful of Wild West Exodus minis that I had. You did the same. You were about
to say you played with Kings of War minis, weren't you?
Yes, I know. I got it on the brain.
You fucking heathen.
And you did the same.
Yes, I did.
Wayne had got proper stuff because Wayne's organised, not like us plebs.
You be drinking that brown lemonade, Tim. You be drinking that brown lemonade.
Let me see if I can upload this again to OneDrive so that I can share with the people at home the picture of the table that we played on. Pictures.
No, we had quite a good setup. So Wayne brought his terrain in, didn't he? We built just some basic starter gang. So I think from memory, you went with 5 riflemen, didn't you? I went with a guy with a shotgun.
Yep.
2 guys with rifles.
Yep.
And then 3 girls with pistols. Because you buy... Tim's critiquing you for using OneDrive.
Look. Oh my god.
Monster. Wayne had a similar list to me. So some rifles, some shotguns, some pistols, didn't he?
Yep.
Both of us had 6, you had 5 minis. We modified the random scenario that we drew because it was going to just be a 2-player standoff, and we said, well, let's just see if we can make it as a 3-player standoff of we're all walking into town and shooting one another. It kind of worked, didn't it?
Yeah,
It wasn't terrible. I mean, again, you walking in from the edge of the board, I think made a massive difference. If you'd have started in the center as intended, you'd have had a very bad time.
To be fair, I think Tim's vindicated here because I'm trying to upload this thing to OneDrive and it's just not having it. And it may be that I'm at my limit. Do
you want me to ping my one up in the Discord?
Well, no, I can't hijack Discord, can I?
You could hijack Facebook Messenger, though, couldn't you?
I go into pictures, saved pictures, upload.
There's my 2 out of Facebook that you should be able to download, mate.
I'll come to them in a minute.
But yeah, we had a decent game. There's some goods and there's some bads from Fistful. Don't give me that it's work provided excuse. Host your own Nextcloud instance.
Damn it. No.
Cloud equals other people's servers. You know you can show pictures in OBS. Yes, just stream a window. You're making it way more complicated than needed. Tim is trying to give you streaming advice, sir. Shame you're ignoring him.
No, I'm not. Well, I sort of am, because I'm in the middle of this.
The problem is, Tim, he took the pictures on his phone, but hasn't converted them to the internet.
Yes, I haven't put them on the internet anywhere useful. Oh, I give up. It's
just go to my Facebook once, for fuck's sake. It'll give the players some ideas, even though I'm playing with black painted minis.
So yours are on Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook Messenger. And you should just be able to click on them and download them, because Facebook shouldn't have nuked the quality.
Oh, these are actually really good photos. Download.
Oh, look, surprising that my phone takes decent pictures. Who'd have thunk it?
I won't do that, because that's just a meme. Download this.
Which meme was that I sent you?
Let's do this. Downloads. Yes, well done, mate.
That man, one step ahead of the curve. Oh, for fuck's sake, Russian uniform. Bollocks, I dropped it. Try another floppy disk.
Windows slideshow. Converted.
Put them on your PC.
There we go. So, this is an action shot that David took at the table. So, yes, so we played this modified scenario. Basically, we had to kill each other's warband leader for 5 points.
Yeah.
Because it was in my first game, like David said, I just tried to keep it as simple as possible. So I took 5 guys, all with rifles, round 15 points, no upgrades. We did the optional rules of adding a leader and a greenhorn. So one guy was rolling on D12s, one guy was rolling on D8s. The core test dice is D10. So you get 1 upgrade, 1 downgrade as part of your warband construction. So we did that. And
it's an alright game.
It's fine. David and I we would say that we enjoyed it. It's a bit random. We would compare it probably to Frostgrave, wouldn't we, mate?
Yes.
Is the nearest analogy, or the first analogy that popped into our heads, because like the problem is you roll very few dice, and like if the dice do wacky shit, then you're just going to have a very odd turn.
Time. Yeah.
I mean, to give you an example, I activated one of my guys. So what the initiative system is driven, for those of you who don't know, Fistful of Lead, one of the unusual mechanics in it is the initiative system is driven on a deck of cards. So each player is dealt a hand of cards, 1 per model at the start of the turn, effectively.
And then descending from kings through down to 2.
Twos, aces and jokers are wild, so you can play them as any other card in the system to allow you to select when you activate a model effectively.
Spades, hearts, diamonds, clubs for activation order.
That's right.
So King of Spades beats King of Clubs,
hearts,
for example.
Yeah. Spades, but in all of the so you have basically it's everything's ordered by numbers, denomination, and then by suit, so that you can break ties and get an order of activation. And some of the cards in the deck, when you activate a model with that specific card, it does something clever.
So sixes give you 3 reloads, twos allow you to shoot twice.
I think
Jacks allow you to go mad in hand-to-hand combat from memory.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think all of the jacks give you the same boost. Like one of the queens, I think, allows you to heal the pinned condition when you activate. So there's even some cards, specific denominations and suit have to match for you to get the special ability. But one nice little thing is if you use the deck of cards that was produced by Wiley Games, I think it is, for the actual game itself, they have the unique effect printed on the card across the centre, so you don't need to keep referring to a chart or keep that information in your head. It's there in front of you, which is a really nice touch.
The reason we're comparing it with Frostgrave, Darren, because Darren's just said about the fact that it might be right up his street, is you roll not many dice. It's basically 1 per model. So you get 2 actions per turn, and you can, for example, shoot twice. But basically, you roll 1 dice looking on a shoot test per shot. And depending upon your range, you're looking for an 8 or higher at long range, for example, or a 5 or higher at the short range. And then depending upon conditions that you have upon you, i.e. whether you're wounded, whether your target's in cover, etc., modifies the dice roll accordingly. Doesn't it?
Yes, that's basically it. So to continue my example, I had a guy with a rifle, so he was at short range, popped round the corner, and effectively fired 4 shots, needing 5s to hit, into a model that was literally standing in the open about 3 inches away. I rolled a d10 4 times and got no roll over a 4. So
yeah, because you had your shoot twice ability. I think the best one, because close combat is brutal in this game.
Yeah,
so if you
close combat is even.
Combat,
we've got an even better example for that swingy bollocks, haven't we, mate? The way the game ended.
So close combat, basically you compare your value versus your opponent's value. So, for example, I roll a 10, you roll a 3. You look at the difference between those 2 values, which is 7. That's how many dice you roll to wound, which is D10 again.
Yeah.
And depending upon the result of the D10 is whether the model is maimed and wounded or dead, or whether it's just pinned and runs away.
Yeah, 1 to 5 is pinned, 6 to 8 is pinned and wounded, and 9 or 10 is dead. Killed outright.
I won combat, rolled, what was it? 5 or 6? 5 dice?
Well, basically, David, at the end of the game, because it was we had to kill a leader to score. That was the only scoring opportunity in the game. You had to kill the enemy leader. Anything else was worth nothing. So right at the end of the game, turn 5, I think it was, or 6, we were all stalemated on 0 points. I was the only person whose leader was carrying wounds. So David basically went, do you know what? Let's play the odds. He ran round the corner with his leader, charged into combat with my leader. So his completely fresh, unwounded leader rolled a d12. I rolled a d12, -1 because I was pinned, -1 because I was already carrying a wound. I rolled an 11, David got a 1. I then rolled a crap ton of wounds against David and killed him. Because you don't have to roll a lot of dice before you got a good chance of rolling a 9 or a 10. So it was like...
like the other combat, I won combat, rolled 4 dice, rolled nothing but pins.
Yeah,
like
yeah, exactly.
4 pins. It's like...
So, I mean, again, we would compare it to Frostgrave in a number of ways. It is not a gamer's game. It can be extremely random.
It's very narrative focused.
We would describe it as a hobbyist's game, wouldn't we, mate? For us, the joy to be found in Fistful of Lead, as we see it, is to play the missions a lot of the main missions in the game are very story driven. So it'll tell you need a marshal and 4 deputies. You'll need 4 bank robbers, 5 bank robbers, whatever, and then the bank robbers start in the bank and they have to get the sacks off the board, and then there's rules for picking up and carrying the gold, and then do you know what I mean? So you've got the hobbyist in you is like, oh well, so we've got to create a great terrain set. I need to collect specific models for these miniatures to really make because they even name like the marshal and the bank robbers leader and stuff. So you've got that hobbyist. Oh, I need to collect just the right models to really make this sing. And then you just play it, and it's just like whatever happens. It's just like fuck it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's narrative mode gone wild, isn't it?
So, as I say,
Darren has just hit the nail on the head for the other reason that we say it's narrative and stuff as well. Swing Bollocks equals a massive story generator.
Yeah.
Embrace bad dice rolling.
It definitely, mate. I mean, it's like, because although there's elements of feel bads in that ending, Christ was it cinematic. Last turn of the game, almost last dice roll of the game, my leader manages to my leader, who's cowering behind this building because he literally can't unpin himself because he can't roll more than a 5 on a d10, is literally just laying on the floor bleeding from a gut wound. This bloke runs around the corner to club him deaf with his rifle butt and just gets shot in the face, and I win. So yeah, I mean, cinematic, definitely.
Meanwhile, Wayne went to the pub for it to all blow over.
Literally just wandered into the pub to hide. But yeah, so cinematic box ticked. Tight, strategic, razor's edge push and pull, no, it's not there. Not there at all. I mean, the other thing that we should definitely mention, though, is the buy-in on this game is absolutely insanely low. I mean, what did you say it was for the
How much do boys and girls at home reckon?
Jerry will know. There's no point.
Well, ignore Jerry's responses. For a rule set plus expansion in digital PDF form, the rule book's, what would you reckon, about 30 odd pages?
Yeah, I would say that, and we'll come to that in a minute. But yes, I would say about 30 pages. It's not an epic tome by any means, but then the game doesn't need it. I mean, out of those 30 pages, 15 of those pages are probably scenarios and warband rules.
Yes.
To be fair, the core rules are so...
Limburger's gone high with $30.
Tim's gone in at 20.
Tim's gone with $19.99. For the main core rulebook, $6. Expansion book that's a similar thickness, a further $6.
So for $12, that's it. You're in. And to be honest, you can't knock that. That is just good value, however you cut it, innit, mate?
Yeah, I think it's like we said. We played it because we fancied it. For us, our main focus will be getting Wild West Exodus to the table. And once that's done, when we fancy turning our brain off for a short period of time, we'll go play some Fistball, won't we?
Yeah, definitely. For us, it's like once we have that terrain set, for Wild West Exodus or a game that's got a little bit more crunch to it, you just be like, I own miniatures, I own terrain, fucking buy it. It's just like, it's done. Jerry saying 16. Yeah, is that because I think even the printed rulebook's what, 20 quid?
The printed's next to fuck all as well. I think the printed's, I want to say about 15.
16, Jerry's. That's probably what Jerry's put in there. 16.
Yeah, well, Jerry doesn't do digital, does he?
No, old. That's fair. But yeah. So, we would.
And again, there's some really nice features, like we've already touched on the cards driving activation order, so no 2 turns are the same. Being able to cheat in some cards if you pull aces or jokers. The
Jerry's saying
narrative
16 for
scenarios is
printed.
really cool.
I think it's a game you own, isn't it, Jerry? Just sound off. Yeah, I'll be honest, Limburger, I'm a digital man now, as far as rule books go. Fistful of Lead is the game. And the other great thing about it is there's 1,000 different reskins, isn't there, David?
Yes, and it's also easily moddable. So long as you agree with your partner to, say, for example, make prone an action like we did in the game.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Just add and tinker with the rules to your heart's content.
Yeah, we sort of created a custom rule for our first game, didn't we?
Yep. That was mainly as Abraham Lincoln cowered under the fucking cart. Because we all went wheel shopping, didn't we? Wayne went and climbed in a stagecoach with his leader. I went and hid under a car in the middle of the street with my leader. And then the round after your leader had taken a fucking rifle round to the face, he went and ran behind a car and hid, didn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah, he was like, ha, cowards. And then, like you say, got shot in the face in the street. So, yeah, who was the smart one? Answer on a postcard, not my guy.
But no, it was enjoyable. It was a nice way to spend Monday night.
And we were done in good time, weren't we? I mean, considering it was our first game.
Oh, yeah, that's the other brilliant thing.
It's a 3-player game.
Yeah, if you wanted 2, maybe 3 narrative games in an evening, easily doable.
Yeah, once you're up with the rules, you could easily play 2 missions back to back, even 3, like David says, in a 3-hour session at a gaming club.
Because they genuinely don't take too long to do they, mate?
No, not at all. So, yeah.
Fistful of Lead, boys and girls.
And like I say, there's loads of reskins. If you
There's
look on
World War II version.
Yeah, if you look on YouTube, you'll find people playing World War II versions. I think there's a fantasy version.
Am I not right in thinking there's a Greco-Roman one as well?
Wayne said there was. I don't think I've seen anybody playing with that, but as I say, it's Wiley Games, Wiley. I think it's basically a one-man band in America, just a little sort of independent guy, and it's cracking. Great value gaming with some nice tweaks.
Horror World War Fantasy ship-to-ship combat.
All right, is Jerry's listing off the options?
the Oracle has spoken, boys and girls.
Okay, there you go. Our internet Oracle has filled in all the blanks. Because I think I've seen you waving at least one of the rule books around, haven't I, Jerry? On OTT stuff, Weekenders etc.
So yeah.
There's sci-fi expansions, post-apocalyptic. Jesus Christ, everything's there. It makes sense. It makes Evening Dan. It does make sense because it's so basic.
And like you say, and when we say basic, we don't mean in a bad way.
No, not at all. That's not
in an enjoyable way.
Because again, David and I have said this on various live streams before. You do not need to. Your game doesn't need a 347-page rulebook to be good. If your game merely needs to know what it wants to be
and how to operate, and
then you just need to deliver on that to your customers, and your customers need to know what they're buying. If your game is, shall we say, light on crunch but fat on theme, then that's great. And if it's the opposite, that's also great. But just make sure the customer knows what they're buying, please.
Right,
manufacturer.
It's 20 to 9. We've gone on for quite a while about what we've done this week.
Let's cover some news before we start enroaching. Yep. Let me close that because we won't be needing the slideshow anymore, and any resource that I can get rid of will probably help my poor crippled shit PC. So let's get rid of that. So news. I'll start with one of my this won't be for Jerry, so put your fingers in your ears, Jerry. I'm quite a fan of board games in general, increasingly so. And the Dice Tower is a channel I enjoy. At least once a year, they do a top 100 games of all time, which is basically they break it down into tens. So they do 10 to 91, 90 to 81, etc., etc.
10 to 91, that's a fucking
100 to
slog.
91, shut up, you know what I meant. 100 to 91, etc. And then they do it over like a period of about 2 weeks. They've just started doing their one for this year. The videos are what they do is they do 3 different people. So you've got in this picture here, you've got Mike DeLisio, Christ, forgotten the bloke's name. That's not good. Tom Vassell and Z Garcia, who are and the reason they do 3 different members of the team doing their top 100s is each of these people has got a different angle. So Mike DeLisio is the guy who's into games. He does a lot more solo gaming than other people, so you'll find a lot more games in his top 100 that are good for solo play or low player counts. Tom Vassell likes crunchy games, so that's his shtick. And Z is the opposite. Z's a man who, if a game lasts more than about 45 minutes, he's probably out. So he loves
He's not an Arkham Horror player.
Well, actually, ironically, it is one of his best games of all time. But generally, Z will be the man who will be flying the flag for those little independent Japanese card games that are played in 20 minutes, very low rules overhead, etc.
Yeah.
Hence the logic of having all these different guys doing their top 100s. To be honest with you, Limburger, half the reason I watch the videos is because of the banter. I'm going to say the old team where they had Sam, I can't remember the guy's surname, but he was somebody a bit more like us. He was like a Warhammer and Wargame man. He really had a great rapport. Sam, Tom, and Z. But Mike's a funny guy, and the banter can be very entertaining. But as I say, these videos are great to watch, just have in the background, just for the gags and them taking the piss out of each other. And from a more serious standpoint, if you are into your board games, you're a hobby board games, and you want to get into it, but you just genuinely don't know what to buy, that, you know, it's a great place to pick up ideas for, particularly as they get to the higher numbers, like top 20 games each. You can pick up some great ideas for.
Well, even those in the 80s and 90s are good because they're possibly at a slightly cheaper price point for people as well.
Well,
it depends.
Yeah.
I know because again, certain big box games will appear lower down on certain people's lists than higher up.
Yeah, but the only thing you've got to bear in mind as well is these guys are doing a top 100 out of thousands of games that they may have played. So even these games,
this is what I'm saying is,
yeah,
they're not all the fucking AAA titles that are big box money. There's good recommendations in this list. There's diamonds in the rough.
Yeah, and stuff you will never have heard of, because the other thing is these guys have all sorts of exotica pushed into their fucking hands that doesn't sell very well or isn't advertised very well. So you'll see things on their top 100 lists that you genuinely will never have bloody heard of. And the other thing that they do with these videos is they do a people's choice. So Dice Tower do run a massive poll running up to their videos. So they get all of their viewership, however many 1,000 people that is, to vote on which games are in their top 100, or vote for games, and then they build a people's choice top 100. So you get another angle on it now as well. Not only do you get their personal opinions, but they give you, out of our 1,000 viewers, these people rank these games like this. And as has been said, although Board Game Geek do a similar thing, the issue with Board Game Geek is there's nobody ever changes their vote very rarely. So when a game's been out for 20 years, it will naturally have an artificial lift because it's got loads of historical voting on it. Whereas they start with a clean slate every year. If a game doesn't get mentioned, it doesn't get in. So it's much more current than, say, a reference source like BGG, Board Game Geek, for those who don't know what that is. So, the themed lists are great, and any of their top 10 lists are very watchable. But as I say, I do enjoy. I know what you're saying, Cheese Me. The reason I watch these videos, because as I'm relatively new to hobby board gaming space, it gives me ideas. Because again, they don't just rank the games; they do discuss what they like about them, what they don't like about them, and it's like getting a review in 45 seconds. Do you know what I mean? So you
get a light review while you're at it.
Yeah, you get a lot of information in a very short and compact time frame. Comparatively, I mean, the videos are still an hour and a half long, but Jesus, there's a ton of waffle and there's 30 odd games being covered in every video, so it is what it is. But as I say, I would recommend them. They are great shows to just to trawl for information. I mean, entertainment is a very subjective thing. Not everybody's personality will click with you, but I would give them a nod. And I would, mention them now. Next thing is YouTube. Now, I don't know if you've seen this one, David.
No, go on. Hit me up.
I'm becoming an increasing fan of the painting phase, which is the YouTube channel that Peachy went to after he left GW. And Peachy did this video where he painted the new Cadian box. Well, the challenge was paint it in 12 hours. Because obviously Peachy's a psychopath. So why wouldn't you paint an entire GW box in 12 hours? So this video is really entertaining. I'm loving these guys' content more and more the more of it I see. And I love Peachy's approach to painting. It's no nonsense. It's so informative. It really does tip your hat to, for every corner. It's like on the Sentinel there, he just sort of like painted the whole thing silver. Then when he painted the panels, he didn't paint any of the edges, so he didn't have to do the chipping. It was already done. So it's like he literally just painted the middle of the panels. And the guy went over, he ended up going over, I think everything basing and that included was 15 hours to paint the entire box set. From priming,
it's not bad going.
I don't know if I think he even included assembly. That includes assembly. So from sprue to what you see in front of you here on this screenshot, 15 hours. And the observant among you will notice he's done camo on it, which is nuts. And it's just a great video. It's really inspirational watching somebody who's obviously, I would say, truly mastered the art of painting to a deadline, but to a quality that is really acceptable. It's just a great video. So for those of you who haven't checked them out, the painting phase is well worth a look. That video particularly. Blackjack Legacy put out is after he clipped 2 videos from his live stream that he did on Monday. The one of them isn't really worth talking about. It was like a dead game video, but to be fair, he didn't really say much. This video provoked a bit of discussion in our Discord group, didn't it, mate?
Yes.
Basically, this video, it's titled as like a GW video. And basically, he's saying he has a controversial opinion about Warhammer. His controversial opinion is that Warhammer isn't expensive. TLDR version.
Don't know where he got that memo from.
Well, to be fair, it is a bit of a bizarre conclusion to jump to because he justifies that it's not expensive once you've got all the assets you need. So once you own an entire collection of models and rulebook and codex, it isn't expensive. It's like, what? That's a bit random. My gut feeling, having watched the video, was that he unfortunately put the slant on the title that was designed from a point of view of clicks. So the good information in the video, he makes two good points in the video, I think, and neither of them are specific to Warhammer or even related to Warhammer in general. One is when you want to, because one of the guys in his live stream said he wanted to get out of Warhammer and get into new games, spread his wings, but he was struggling because his gaming group were very anti it, and they were they only wanted to play 40k. They didn't want to do anything else. And he was basically saying, you only need one person. Don't panic, just get one person. Yeah, don't feel defeated, don't give up. You only need one individual to agree, and then you and that one individual can explore a ton of gaming space without the need for 20 people in the gaming group, sort of thing. And I thought that was a really good message. And
again, you've spoken about it before with Patrick when you used to be in Scotland.
And do you know what? That's exactly what I was about to say, mate. I've actually lived this reality. When I moved to Butte, basically there was only one other guy who lived on the island who was into wargaming, a guy called Patrick, what I would call seriously into it. And Patrick and I could have easily, if work had been different and other things had been different, I could have stayed on Butte, and Patrick and I could have enjoyed exploring the hobby without anybody else's input. I mean, in the 2-3 years I was there, we tried Batman. I introduced him to Batman Infinity. He introduced me to Warcry. We dragged up Warhammer 8th and had a game of that. We did more time for the first time in years. I played more time. So the message there, it only needs to be you and one other, is brilliant. Brilliant advice. The other thing that he said that I thought was of merit, but again not really relevant for Warhammer, was that oh Christ, what was it? You only need one person. Oh yeah. This idea that he was saying, sometimes if you're in that situation where you're in a gaming group but you're not enjoying the game, just ask yourself the question, what matters? Is it the social thing and spending time with your friends that's really important, or is it the game? And if it's actually spending time with your friends and the social interaction, should you even worry? So you don't like 40k, so it's a bit of a grind. But surely the point is you're interacting with your friends, the people that you want to be with, want to be spending time with. Surely that, maybe to just adjust your point of view, and maybe things don't look as frustrating and sour as they think, or maybe you just come at it with a fresh approach and just think, you know what, fuck this, whatever happens. I'm going to
do this for so-and-so that I'm playing with.
I'm going to get tabled at turn 3 again, but it doesn't matter, because I'm here with Jack, and we're having a drink, and we're having some fucking snacks, and it's going to be a laugh. We'll be pissing ourselves laughing over, stupid gags and whatever. And again, I thought... Yeah. Well, Jerry, that's a can of worms, mate. Something that I've got a very strong opinion on. I'm like you. There should be a quid pro quo. I would expect
there's a give and take.
I would expect a friend who wants me to spend my time doing something with them for them, to at least be open to saying, do you know what? It's 3 hours out of my life. Let's try it. Let's do it. But yeah, you make a very good point. But as I say, in terms of the ideas in this video, I think that idea and the idea that it only needs one person for you to form a nucleus to explore the world of gaming, they were actually better messages than his rather contrived, bizarre point about Warhammer isn't expensive. But again, I feel for the guy because it had the feeling of this is a
YouTube content producer.
Yeah, it give and take. Crispin, keep it. I don't even know what to say to that. A quid per friend. That's cheap. Yeah, when you haven't got many friends, it is, Tim. Or is
I
that?
mean, it depends on how you define friend based on Crispin's quote just afterwards.
And what you're giving and what you're taking. That could be rough. Jesus Christ. So, yeah, as I say, I think the Warhammer thing was a pasted on YouTube thing. And it's a shame because the better ideas are buried in the video. But such and such. I mean, we'll come to that. So, bizarrely enough, I watched another video. I'm going to call it a video, but it's actually a podcast that's just had video overlay put on it. So, I don't know if any of you guys know this. Paul Hammer, a couple of Americans, I think. They could be Canadians. They've definitely got North American accents. So,
did you just tar all of North America with the same brush? Because you're going to have very angry Americans and very angry Canadians.
Well, to be fair, I'll be more upset.
Just because both were historically colonized by us doesn't mean we can be racist towards them.
No, I'm not being racist.
You're tarring them all with the same brush.
Yeah, but Americans, I don't care. And Canadians, they can take it. So
True.
Basically,
Love you,
this video, there were basically the idea of this podcast was one of the guys wanted to prove, or was asked the question by one of their Discord community, I think it was, can you still build a 2,000 point army for every single faction in 40k? So can you field an army for $500? Was the objective exercise to be discussed and performed. And they did put a few ground rules in. So, like, you weren't allowed to buy point sync dog shit models. So one example they gave was the Stomper for the Orcs. It's incredibly expensive for points, but does nothing on the table. The armies that they were building were no way going to be like Vegas win
competitive.
Yeah, they weren't going to be tournament winning top meta lists, but by the same token, they weren't giving themselves the out where they could build dog shit lists,
narrative lists.
And so, they did a lot of, can we buy multiple combat trolls, save a few dollars, get some half decent units, blah blah blah. It's a really interesting podcast. It's worth the time. I think even if you're not a 40k player, because obviously Games Workshop still casts a massive shadow over the hobby, and it's an interesting thing to sort of like get an insight on. The end result was they came to the conclusion that 4 factions they could do it for. 4 out of 13. All of the other 13s, it was absolutely impossible to build a 2,000 point list on that budget, given the current model ranges and prices. Now, again, caveat, they were doing full retail price from GW website. So, obviously, with 15-20% discount, a few more might have fallen under the bar. But, again, great. It's a great podcast. The other interesting thing which they came up with at the end, because of the way that the exchange rates changed, and because of the way GW have sort of like fixed their North America pricing like a year or two ago, there's basically what they were saying was there's a 38% tax for buying stuff in North America versus buying it here in the UK and Europe. So actually, their conclusion was if you would convert it to British pounds, and ask the same sort of ask the same sort of theoretical question, can you build a half decent 2,000 point list for 500 quid, then actually a lot more of the factions would be doable. But the other thing that occurred to me when I was listening to this was 500 quid's a lot of fucking money. It's all very well to say, oh, well, you can still build a 2,000 point.
Did that include codices and rulebooks?
No, this is just models. Yes, no, this doesn't include any paper support material. This is literally just models, no terrain. And I don't know if I'm an idiot or if I'm old and out of touch, but I was thinking 500 quid. That's fucking nuts. We were just talking about Fistful of Lead. You could buy what? If you need to build a warband, what do you need? 5 to 10 miniatures?
Yeah, something like that.
What would they cost you from, let's say, Black Scorpion? What are they, about a fiver each?
Scorpion, yeah, fiver each, so 50, 60 quid for your miniatures.
That's to get
another tenner for your rulebook.
Even if let's go quid. Paper, let's splash out, mate. Let's just
we're going to go 90 quid then, are we?
Yeah, we'll go, let's go 90 quid. So we've bought our rulebook, all our miniatures. Let's buy 2 factions so that we could introduce a friend. That pumps us up to a dizzying 130. Is that right? For
140. Say 140.
Yeah, say 140. So we've got
100 quid TT table.
So we've got 2 factions, rulebook. We'll buy 100 quid's worth of Wild West terrain from TT Combat. So that's 240. Call it 250. Let's call it 250 quid. We've got a table of terrain, 2 factions, a fucking rulebook. Games Workshop isn't expensive. My rosy arse, it's not expensive. It's absolutely preposterous what they're asking for to play their hobby. Let's move on. Before
we're going to kick the GW puppy in a bit as well, so let's not kick it prematurely.
Let's move on. Now, we've got a few here from David, because he likes his STLs. So the first one, mate, is this Chaos Citadel, which is on Kickstarter currently from
Dark Fantastic Mills. He's been teasing it since before November. I think the Kickstarter went live last week or the week before. It's a really nice terrain set if you like your Chaos City terrain, or your Chaos Citadel terrain even.
I'll be honest, I don't like it per se, but I will give it. Didn't Games Workshop?
Unique.
Games Workshop produced some terrain that looked very similar years ago. I seem to remember, didn't they?
Not a clue.
With all the angular, spiky walls. I'm sure I've seen something like this when they first sort of started doing a lot of AOS Chaos, the Bloodbound. I'm sure they did something like this, but obviously had more skulls on it. I don't particularly like it, but I mean, it looks really good when it's put together. And the clip system that they've got to hold the parts together looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, you can clip, magnetize, or glue it. They're your 3 options. They've got a fair bit on, and it's at a nice rate. The other stuff Dark Fantastic Mills does is amazing. The only thing that annoys me a little bit about him is he does all these nice, amazing terrain sets, puts them all up on his Instagram store and everything else. Doesn't really tend to release the files for general printing. Like, there's some really nice stuff on his website for like Zinch, AOS armies and other bits and pieces, but you can only buy them printed from him, which I get. If he spent the time and effort to model it, why distribute the files? Which is actually quite nice to see him distributing the files this time through Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy a printed version of this. What was it, 145?
148
for the big kit.
You can even have a painted version if you want for like 300, I think it was.
So that's a bit steep, but I mean, it's a big old. I mean, it really is literally a sort of table center piece of terrain. It is an amazing thing. As I say. You tickled and to be fair, the STLs are very reasonable, aren't they?
Yes, 38 quid.
If you're into your printing, it's not an expensive thing at all.
Yeah, if you're already into it, quid's in. So that's the first one.
Yeah.
The second one on this list this week is from Saucerman Studios. They've updated a couple of their terrain sets for the new boarding actions and kill team. So there's some doors, blast doors, and bits and pieces been added to the space set, and they've got a Warcry-esque dungeon set that released recently as well.
So the first one that you got me to pull up is this walled skirmish thing.
Is it the dungeon or the?
This looks like sci-fi.
That's like Infinity come sci-fi. That was while I was trying to find the one. There's been no updates or that to that this week, but I thought it's quite nice. It's quite pretty. It's unlike the grim and the dark of 40k for Kill Team and Necromunda and other bits and pieces. It's actually quite nice. Do you know what I mean? It's clean.
It's unusual. I like they've got like these energy doors. I think that's what they are. Or they've got some weird sort of like very sci-fi looking doorway pieces. There's really interesting detailing on them. And then this is the ship assault stuff. So this is obviously supposed to be like the new Kill Team boarding action stuff. Again, $17. Was it $18 basically for the modular walls base set?
And that's not US dollars. That be Australian dollary dues.
Oh my god. That's pretty fucking cheap. And it does look very good. Got removable doors. Actually, those doors look better than the GW ones because you'll actually be able to remove them and take them out of the way instead of having to. Those are the swing hinge type, which I don't think work as well. And then there's the dungeon version, isn't there, mate? Which you mentioned.
Warcry.
I can't actually make the. Oh, hang on. Click on. Here we go. Look, we can make this. We can bigify this. I'm working out how this website works on the fly. Tell you what, these look very good.
Cheese me goes mass battle game at 100 though. True, but counterpoint. Cheese me.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Massive bolt action armies, the starter sets. That's basically 1,000 points of each, and they're 90 quid each. So that's 180 plus a rule book. Well,
I was going to say we'll buy 2 bolt action armies. Let's be generous, call them 100 quid a piece. That's 200 for 2 armies. And then we'll set aside a budget of 150 quid for terrain. That'll give us a reasonable terrain set
coverage.
And that's 350 quid, 2 armies, table of terrain. Let's throw in a rule book and we're still under 400 quid. So, yeah. No. What do you reckon for Firefight? What are the starter army boxes for them are 100 quid, aren't they?
Not a clue. Firefight isn't something I really have been looking at. I need to play a game of that with Ricky actually at some point.
So yeah, that's the news as we've got for you this week. Oh
no,
it better be because that's all of the tabs.
No, because there's one thing left missing from the news that really links with tonight's topic.
Yeah, but that's tonight's topic.
It's
9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock, and we're going to get into the main topic. And basically, we've criticised GW for a long time, mate, haven't we, for having excessive detail on their models.
Yes.
And we think GW may have missed the point because they've
learned from their customer feedback that actually giving less of a model, less detail improves the model.
So
it's just a detail panel that has been removed in an area that no fucker really gave a shit about.
Yeah, obviously, when we said reduce the level of detail on your models, GW, we didn't mean actually just start removing panels, but, maybe remove the details on the panels. That would be better. So, yeah, obviously, it's been in the news, hot news this week. Games Workshop released the Rogel Dawn 2 fucking battle tank. And when you fully assemble the model, it's got a 4-inch square hole in its arse. And everybody on the internet has quite reasonably gone, what the absolute fuck, Games Workshop? Anyway,
your opinions on it, the controversy. I really couldn't give a tinker's jizz. And the reason I say that, it's on the bottom of the tank. It's not like even in old editions where you destroyed the tank and left it on the table, destroyed and upside down. You fucking remove the model now. What's it matter? And I think somebody on the internet made a valid point. This is a 3-sprue kit. They've given you an absolute metric shit ton of options to go with this, of shit to go on the outside, weapons options, turret options, all that shit. Something had to give, so it was a little 4-inch square of plastic on the bottom of the tank.
My thoughts on it are, I get what you're saying. My thoughts on it, my pushback really against your comments would be twofold. Number one, Games Workshop already know a large proportion of their customer base do modelling and painting the models as the hobby itself. Do you know what I mean? Almost, these people are almost like they're literally collecting and painting the models. It might be to display singly, put on display bases, build dioramas, whatever. If you create a kit that's got a massive flaw in it like that,
well, no, it hasn't got a flaw in it. That's the problem here.
Hey! If you create a model that's got a massive flaw in not having a flaw, then, like you say, if you can display that model flat, you could display that model you can put that model on a gaming table, and as long as you never turn it over or put it on a piece of tilted terrain or whatever, it'll be fine. Nobody will ever know. But if you want to do that model coming over a rise in a dynamic diorama, suddenly you've got to be like, oh yeah, I need to patch that fucking great hole in the bottom. And do you know what? If it was a 10 quid fucking kit from some, I don't know, cheap ass Chinese scale model company that literally banged shit out for a tenner, fine. But Games Workshop are, I mean, I saw a comment on a video. People were saying even high quality scale models, which are, you know, designed to be as close to the real thing in the, you know, as possible.
Well, again, I made this point to you when we were talking about topic.
You can pay half the money, and what you get is something that's entirely complete in every respect. At this price tag, that tank should not require customizing or customer modification to finish it. I am absolutely, I accept the fact that it may not actually matter 90% of the time when it's used in cold blood, but that is not the point. For me, it's not the point.
Well, again, I made this point to you, didn't I? We even have scale modelers out on the internet that buy the ultra detailed kits, and then even they're not detailed enough, and they're adding shit to the wheel well bays and everything else. You're never going to please everyone.
Well, this comes back to because obviously we didn't want to do the entire fucking hour talking about this poxy tank, but it leads into the more general point of how much detail should there actually be on a model or miniature, okay? And the answer to that question, I'm afraid, is not an easy one, because it comes down to, and in my opinion, it comes down to, well, what do you want to do with it, okay? If you want to play a game with it, so this model is to all intents and purposes a gaming piece, okay? In board games, they have coloured plastic meeples that are just cast in pieces. That you just take them out of the box, you stick them on
from wood.
Yeah, or cut from wood. You stick them on the board, you go. Okay, it's just a representative token. Nobody gives a shit. Okay, that's one extreme. The next extreme. The next sort of scenario is you have a scenario where we've got gamers like us. We do want tokens to represent our models on the battlefield, and they're not necessarily they don't need to be WYSIWYG. See you later, Demon Sub. They don't
Bye, Demon.
necessarily need to be WYSIWYG. They don't need to exactly represent what we want them to represent, but we want them to be representative enough that we feel immersed in what we're doing. But we might need to paint 30 or 40 of them. So we want them to be representative, but we want them to be stylized so that at the scale that we're working with them, whether that be painting them or assembling them, it isn't hugely fiddly, it isn't hugely time consuming. Do you know what I mean? You've got to strike a middle ground. Yeah. And then you have the extreme end, like David just mentioned. So you have scale modelers. These are people who will buy some sort of modeling kit. It could be a vehicle. It could be a 12-inch figure of a Napoleonic guy, literally a single figure. These people want literally photorealistic reproductions of the actual item that they're representing, and then they will paint them in a way that is as true to life as they can do it. And for them, that is the challenge, that is the art. As David said, you'll get people who will buy vehicle kits that are modeled to an insane level of detail, but it's not enough for them. They will
so we're going to add all the wires, hydraulic lines, everything else that were missing because they weren't moldable on the master.
Or that they were too small, so the company said, we've got to cut a corner somewhere, or we'll be manufacturing this kit for the next 25 years. And they say, no, we want everything, and it has to be
well, again, they'll go out and
exactly
buy
right.
brass photo etch parts and everything else, won't they, to get the tiny little details strong enough.
Yeah. So, the answer is it depends on what you're doing with it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the problem arises when sort of companies don't know what they're making and they don't know who it's for.
This is the other thing I said to you when we sort of discussed this pre-stream. There's detail levels even within a company that make decent miniatures. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mantic's a prime example here. So you've got the resin crispness and fucking beauty of all of their Armada minis. Problem is, there's 3D printed lines from the masters on the moldings that are now on the resins. So there's fuck all you can do about that because you'll also mar the surfaces that are really crisp and detailed.
Yeah.
You've then got their step down in quality, so to speak. Which is the plastics, the hard plastics. They're nice to assemble. There's a nice level of detail on. Not too much detail, not too crisp either, but they're there because that's the material that's been used to mold them. Then you have the step below that, which are the soft PVCs.
Which, to be fair to them, they are moving away from, except for very specific board gamey style single pack projects.
They are in League of Infamy,
Dungeon Saga.
Dungeon Saga is another prime example. Some of the Abyssal minis in the the Morgoth type style fucking demons, they're still in soft PVC from what I can tell. Similarly, the ogres in the Orc and Goblin army.
Yeah, well, no, they've all been redone in hard plastic because
they've been redone now.
Yeah, that's because this is what I mean. I've seen interviews with Ronnie. And they're definitely trying to get rid of all of their PVC product in their main wargaming lines. That is, so
and then you also have metals, which demand a premium because of the weight of them and the skills it requires to mold for them.
And to be fair, it's a fucking expensive material to make models out of now.
Yeah.
In fairness.
They are crisp.
Yeah, the new Mantic Ogres are a real step up, Limburger, yeah.
How they're coming out of the molds, etc., means you can't necessarily have them in all of the detailed posts, like on the top of the video here, where we're talking about the Death Guard mini and the holeless tank or the bottomless tank. Because that Death Guard mini is a prime example of GW going a fucking step too far.
Well,
It's
the reason
prime example
that, again, you've highlighted, even within we've said there's these three contexts. You've got board gaming pieces. I mean, we're talking about, we get butchered in the chat for Assassin's Creed. Now, some of those Assassin's Creed models are really soft. They're not very well shaped, but they are board game pieces. Do you know what I mean? They're all just stamped out of a mold. They are what they are. They're all one piece.
Soft PVC.
Yeah, you know, it is what it is. You've got to. The context of what you're talking about is absolutely crucial. If I wanted fucking boutique resins for the 140 odd models I got in my Assassin's Creed core box, I could probably treble the price
easily.
And it was already a fucking expensive game, thank you very much, without doing that. So it's like, do you know what? These are absolutely fine, guys. But
yeah,
it's like, but again, let's take Games Workshop. In fairness to Games Workshop, right? If I buy Bellacore, which is a fucking massive winged demon, about, I don't know, what is he, 6 to 8 inches tall. He's a massive centerpiece model for my army. I'm only ever owning one of them. He could be dripping in chains, fucking, different skin textures, bloody all sorts of shenanigans. Do I care? Actually, I'm not that bothered. Because, yes, that might be a big paint project, but I've only got to do it once.
And he's a centerpiece. He's meant to stand head and shoulders above everything else.
But those Plague Marines, they're like, I could have 10, 15, 20 of them.
Well,
it's like, what the fuck? How, again, I don't want 15 or 20 colours per model and then have to spend my time paint 30 of them. It's like insanity.
Again, I'm gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater here. My Iron Jaws army. You know it well.
Yeah.
It's brutes and gore grunters and black orcs and a mega boss and other stuff. Death Cabbage and all the fucking armor and stuff on him. Same on the War Chant of the Shamans. The hero minis, don't give a flying tinker's jizz about. Cool enough. What annoys me more about the product line was the half-assed effort to take an old mold for the Black Orcs, dump it into the new range, and go, yeah, no, that fits, even though there's none of the texture on the armor and everything else that is on the rest of my line troops, like my Gore Grunters and my Brutes. Like, they cut corners on armies because of, again, old molds, and they don't want them to go to waste. Get that. But then, like the Iron Jaws, they've got fucking dangly pouches hanging off them. You can stick fucking skulls and bits on them if you want to. Like,
you got extras on the sprues.
Yeah, you got extras on the sprues just for detailing and pimping them out. Now, at least GW made them optional on those minis. They didn't force me to have them on.
Yeah.
But my God, really?
And again, we could get pushback on this. You could get pushback on this, and people say, look, just fucking paint all of the accoutrements and bits and bobs all one colour. Nobody cares. It's a 32mm model. And to be fair, that is probably fair criticism. These are our models. We can paint them how we want. If we really do, if you really do take offence at how long those Death Guard are taking, all the teeth and the open sores and the fleshy tentacles emerging from his armour, paint it all fucking green. Nobody will care. Paint it the same colour as the armour for speed. But I'm in the camp where that sort of level of compromise starts to become immersion breaking and the miniatures start to look a bit tatty. I get it. That's me. That's my, that's my issue. I've got to wear that. But I mean, doing in the run up to this show, David sort of said to me, "Can you pull up some pictures that are representative?" And he directed me towards the new guard models. And I actually looked at the new sculpts for the Imperial Guard, whatever the fuck they're supposed to be called now. I forget. Astra Militarum. And do you know what? They're not bad. They have got a lot of pouches and stuff and holsters, but it's all formed as part of the webbing. It's clearly of the same material. So if you want to paint it one colour, it'll work. It looks fine. I compare that to my Orc Commandos for Kill Team. Now, the Orc Commandos are busy as fuck. There is so much on those models. They've got armour plates, strapping, fabrics, skin. And the thing is, you've then got stuff on the sprues, like David said, to add. You've got, like, cylindrical canister smoke grenades. You've got stick bombs, which are a different type of attachment. You've got sort of, like, dog tag-like things that are obviously made out of a metal of some kind. With fold-out parts. So even if you were to stick all of these accessories on, the accessories have all got different fucking materials, different textures. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
Well, again, it's like, look here at...
Why?
Look here at the Necromunda Mini. So we'll go top to bottom on the Necromunda Mini.
Go to your camera,
Hang on,
mate.
I will in a second. I need to just
That's
turn
fine.
it on.
You tell me when you're ready. Yeah, because you said this to me as well in the build-up about painting rivets and buckles and shit, didn't you?
Okay, no audio, start. Right.
Yeah,
So,
you are right, Crispin. When they give you extra bits on the sprue, you can always leave them off, and I'll give you
you're
that.
not obliged to put them on. Totally for that. Right, so here we have
Hang on, let's
Mini
fade.
number 1.
Here we go. So, David, go on then.
So we have hair.
Okay.
We have skin tone.
Yeah, that's fair.
We have this collar that's like fabric, but it's also got pipes coming out onto his skin.
To be fair, that's like an explosive collar. You could do that all metallic if you want, couldn't you?
Yep. We've got this bit on the back, again, going with the strapping. We've got a D-link. Well, that's clearly different to the strapping.
Yeah.
We've got the armour on the arms. If you wanted to go to the nth degree and segment this and separate each of these panels out to different colours.
Oh, yeah, but you'd be mad.
No, but again, like, come on. And again, look at that. We've got a skull on a belt with some fucking studs and rivets.
Yeah.
We've got studs on the side of the armour panel.
Yeah.
It's just
to be fair, mate, if you keep that in shot for a second.
Hang on. No,
all right.
Because I'm going to the next guy.
He's off on one, guys. He's off.
Skull mask.
Yeah.
With rebreather.
Yeah. D-link.
Same D-links and bollocks. Webbing. Okay, admittedly, I put this piece on as a optional upgrade. That's on me. But, like, fucking Jesus Christ, why? Like, again, here. How the fuck am I going to get in here?
Is that a tiny little bit of cabling?
Little band and cabling on the bottom of this for the dispenser for the grenade launcher that then sits under his fucking shoulder pads. Yeah. Like, again, studs.
For me, the thing that pisses me off with these sort of miniatures is things like that D-link on that waistband and the skull motif on that waistband. Because if you just paint them the same colour as the underlying thing, they do look jarring when you start picking up. See you later, Limburger.
Here's prime example. Painted studs green because I'm base coating and I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
Also, opinions. Do we think that I need to wash them feet? Because I don't think I do.
I would just highlight them, to be fair.
They've already got a highlight on them.
Oh, have they? Oh, yeah. I tell you what you need to do. You need to highlight that ridge that's halfway up the foot as well.
No, I don't, because that's an armour panel that's come down.
Okay, so it's going to be repainted. Okay, I'll let you off.
It's going to be black.
Yeah, no. They look fine then, mate.
Again, grenades. But not only have we got grenades, we've got fucking D-links on the grenades! Sorry, I'm not triggered, you're triggered.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
Oh, night cheese me. Yeah, but I shouldn't have to have sub-assemblies and small brushes and magnifying lamps.
I think the thing is, again, Necromundi, you could kill team again. You could probably give it a pass. Necromundi, you could probably give it a pass because you can.
It's small model count.
You're painting 10 models, but some of the AOS stuff is nuts. Some of the AOS model line, some of the model lines are just berserk. I've got Stormcast Eternals. I've got one of the guys who's like a priesty guy. I can't remember what they're called, and I've been putting off painting him because he's covered in bloody skulls and little bloody like scrolly bits, and he's got a fucking staff
I've still
weapon.
got my camera live, haven't I?
I've just turned it off, but I can put it back on, mate.
I was about to say, we're going to go back here, and we're going to compare this to a Black Scorpion miniature, a company both me and Paul love. Okay, details not the crispest on this. But we have the base, the trousers, the legs, a flintlock, a couple of flintlocks, some nice flowing capes.
Or a long coat.
And a long coat, and a hair. But there's nothing massively ostentatious or egregious with this.
The most you've got is the button fastening detail on the coat, isn't it, really, in terms of small details on that. The rest of it's pretty big. Some of the nicest miniatures I've painted recently have been the Burrows and Badgers metals. Because
I'm just about to pull up a metal miniature for representation here as well.
Because
from the lovely Myrtle at Drowned Earth. We're going to have to zoom out because he's a big boy.
Here we go then. Yep. So what is this?
Bad boy. This is the elephant.
Okay, yeah, from
Drowned Earth.
Drowned Earth, yeah. He's pretty busy though, isn't he?
He is busy, but it's not egregious. Do you know what I mean? It's
I don't know, mate.
And boxes, yeah, and an armor belt, but that's about it.
That's pretty.
He's not
pushing it.
He's borderline.
He's pushing it.
He's not got skulls everywhere.
Yeah, but look, he's got wrist wraps. He's got an upper arm wrap. You know, I don't know. The thing is, it's a difficult thing to quantify precisely, but we've all been there as hobbyists, I'm sure. You're painting something. For me, as I was saying a minute ago, when I got my first Burrows and Badgers metals from Oathsworn, I after I'd painted the 2 or 3 of them, I was like, oh my God, am I enjoying these models? Because like that model David just had from, what the hell's the company called? Black Scorpion. The basics are there. So you've got trousers, jacket, you might have an undershirt, a hat, you've got a main fur tone or fur to do weapons, whatever. But everything is, even when there's details on the model, the details are clearly defined and quite self-contained. Because it's a metal, it's all hand sculpted in green, so they're different. You know, I don't know. It's a dad joke, I think. Probably. He's saying, because I said we've all been there, and he's saying no, he hasn't. What was I saying?
He's derailed your thoughts, sir.
It has, because again, David and I talked about this, right? There is an element of, is digital sculpting, is the rise of digital sculpting feeding into this? Because
well, again, look at fucking GW Space Marine sculpts. A Space Marine is a Space Marine, is it not?
Eons of Battle did a video on this topic about a month or two ago,
and they've gone bloody multi-part now, so you can have them in a billion different poses, and dynamic and everything else. But because they're injection molded, obviously they can't get them out of the mold tools without splitting them into about 40 different pieces. And it's just a nightmare.
I don't know. What are you saying there? That it's a bad thing to have to assemble models?
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have to assemble models. What I'm saying is the digital sculpting and the fact that they now know, oh, well, we're going to injection mold these and we'll give it to Bob because Bob will split them all down and make whatever we design moldable within reason.
To be fair, is Bob a piece of software?
No,
because
Bob works his magic.
I don't think it will be Bob, will it? It'll be Bob. Because the vibe I get is a lot of their 3D sculpts are split by software, aren't they? Onto the sprue. An algorithm. I don't think they're split by human beings. You can tell that by the way that the fuckers go together. It's like, what human being would do this? What weird alien? I might be wrong. You might be right. It might be a manual human process, but I doubt it.
Yeah, but there's no consideration for the mold or parting line.
Well,
when those minis are designed.
No.
Because it's like, oh, and it'll be fixed after.
Yeah, exactly. There's no need because the computer will sort it. You know, all I do is I'll do it, and then the computer will split it on the sprue.
And it's nothing a bit of green stuff won't fix either.
I don't know. But the thing is, with the old-fashioned sculpting methods, it acted as a natural break on the whole thing, didn't it? You know,
again, you wouldn't end up with a fucking sword so thin in white metal that you look at it funny and it breaks like certain wraith tentacles that you are full well aware of the pains of.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good question. Does anybody know in chat how Corvus Belli do their sculpts? I don't know if Jerry knows. Are they digitally sculpted or are they hand sculpted?
I think they're digital because they do a lot of render teasers, don't they?
Because, I mean, again, you say about insanely thin weapons. Like, one of the biggest pain in the asses for assembling Infinity models can be the size of some of the components. Because they're metal, getting them to adhere with such tiny contact surfaces, my Christ, can that be a pain in the ass? Yeah, CAD, says Jerry. So they are digital. Yeah. I mean...
Called it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it gives the miniatures their look. This is the thing. Having said that, do you know what? Infinity metals can be a pain in the arse to assemble, and I'm not saying that they are beginner-friendly models, really. Their metal is not the easiest thing to work with. It's not as easy, it's not as forgiving as like hard plastics. And as I've said, some of the components have got such tiny contact areas that you really struggle to get good adhesion without getting a fucking super glue crust that just bloody obliterates a ton of detail. And you run the risk of getting bent or broken off quite easily. But one thing about the Infinity models, when you do get them assembled, they are not over detailed. Now the armor can have some quite unusual shaping to it, so you might have an armor panel
fine lines.
Yeah, it might have dimples, and it might have like armor panels that scoop over the top of another panel, so that you could, if you wanted, to do a top color and a bottom color. But one of the things that's characteristic of Infinity miniatures, at least all of the JSA ones that I've painted, They don't have massive utility belts with shit hanging off them. They don't have webbing with fucking pouches and shit for days. They just have quite basic fatigues or uniforms. They'll have a main weapon normally. Some of them are equipped with a sword and a pistol or gun, but it's very...
it's restrained.
Yeah, they are.
I haven't thrown the kitchen sink and given everything fucking grenades.
No, I mean, and some of their models are really minimalistic. Things like the remote models, things like Fast Pandas and stuff like that, they are so basic to paint. They're really, effortless to paint. I'm doing the Carnivale now. Now I know that the Strigoi are a pretty minimalist faction, particularly like the box I'm doing now, which is the Airborne Hunters or the Airborne Cannibals, or whatever they're called, the box. These are sort of like models that are basically just naked beasts. But do you know what? They're fine. They're great models.
Yeah, they're not massively detailed.
If I think about my Malifaux miniatures, that Asami crew that I did recently, both Asami and the second in command, whose name I always forget because it's Japanese and I can never keep the word in my bloody head, they're basically just got long robes. I mean, Asami was such a simple model, I decided to do like a patterned kimono.
You did a freehand pattern on it.
Yeah, and just freehanded it because why not? There wasn't a shit ton to paint, so I went the 9 yards with it. Do you know what I mean? And I just... it's all it needs. I mean, I've said it before about bolt action. If you take the bolt action sprues and just assemble the models bare bones, they really don't take any fucking painting at all. They are so easy to paint. Now, bolt action sprues do give you a fuck ton of accessories, so you can then put an ammo pack, water bottle, bayonet, frog. You can attach all of those things to the soldier if you want, which makes assembly quite fiddly. But it's all modern. Combat gear. So anything that's on your webbing is normally one colour. Do you know what I mean? So when it comes to painting, it doesn't add much. Do you know what I mean? It makes assembly a fucking ball bag, but actually painting doesn't ramp up.
Yeah, it's not terrible or the end of the world, is it?
Dan's going to let us know what about the Infinity when he finishes building them. Look, he's put Infinity building.
Yeah, I mean,
keep at it, Dan. You'll be fine, mate. You're not a noob by any stretch. You've got this. It'll be fine.
I'm just trying to think if there's Steam Forged, that Morrigan mini.
Yeah, those oh fucking hell! What's the name of the game called?
God Tier.
God Tier. Well, thank you, mate. Yeah, God Tier. Those models are great. Not overly complex, but just right.
Just enough detail to make it interesting to paint.
Yep.
But not enough detail that it's going to give you a fucking migraine while you do it.
I mean, that Mantic, those Forge Father minis that I did, they were great. Fine, I was happy to smash out 40 odd infantry models. They were fine. There was just enough on there. There was enough detail that if I wanted to pick stuff out on epaulettes and shoulder pads and helmets to add my unit colours or bring things alive, it was.
You had the opportunity to.
I did it, and but at the same token, it was manageable. It was not excessive by any stretch.
And it didn't feel forced, like you didn't have to paint those details.
I mean, my kill team terrain, because the other thing is like, we're talking...
fucking don't get me started on GW terrain. You've opened a can of worms now.
This is another thing, right, where we talked earlier about you want to ask, what is your model for? What is your model supposed to do? And we obviously
it's a terrain piece.
We sort of like discussed whether the level of detail needs to fit the end purpose of the model, whether it goes from gaming piece to this fucking high-end display piece, and then there's this sliding scale of what you actually need. But the other thing is terrain, right? We want to spend a ton of time. We expect to have to spend a ton of time painting and assembling our models because it's part of the hobby. And some people love spending the same amount of time on terrain, don't they, mate? I mean, you look at Wayne has taken his
Wild West set.
What was the saloon? He's taken the Wild West saloon. I think it's a TT Combat one, he said.
Yeah.
And he has decked the interior out. So it's got a bar. It's got loads of detailing furniture in each of the rooms. He has absolutely... It's got fucking tables and chairs in it. He does
also use that for D&D, which is part of the reason for doing it. But the point still stands of he's taken something that was relatively simple and flat MDF.
Yeah.
Detailed the inside to the high heavens because it's what he wanted to do with his project.
Yeah. And again, he bought the components and assembled it and did it that.
The video, we've mentioned it here before on the channel, Luke's APS, the bolt action table that was at UK Games Expo.
Yeah.
It's back in one of our earlier videos. I'm sure we'll probably end up linking it, or you can go to the back and scroll through the back catalogue and find it yourself. It was a fucking gorgeous table. And it was playable, but there were some areas that were unfortunately unplayable because of the rubble that Luke had used in the street and other bits and pieces.
Well, essentially, he had created his rubble piles from literally loose rubble.
Yeah.
So they were extremely uneven.
Can't stand minis on them very well.
I mean, particularly... a lot of Warlord bolt action miniatures, character models, and unusual models are still available in metal. And if you get metal models that might be top heavy, holding their gun high, on the tiny, skinny little Warlord biscuit base,
that's what I was about to say.
They'll just go bink. You'll never get them to stand ever.
But the table looked amazing. So, hats off to Luke for that one.
To be fair, he was creating it for a display purpose, mate, wasn't he? So...
And it was what the customer wanted and everything else, because it was a commissioned table.
Yeah, and it was going to be put in a public forum. Playability was secondary to look.
For it was look first.
Plus the fact it was custom built, so he chose all that.
Yep. We come back to the elephant in the room, though. G-Dub terrain. And Kill Team terrain in particular, Necromunda terrain. My Kill Team Octaria stuff is still unfinished because the number of lights and cables and other bollocks on that, it did not need to be done. And if you wanted to do that, you could have added it yourself.
Yep.
That has no place to be molded onto that terrain set in the way that it has been.
I would certainly say so.
Because it takes what should be probably a 20-hour project and adds probably at least another 5 hours in fucking around with all of the cables.
Yeah, as I say, mine is still unfinished because I stalled at painting all of the jerry cans and individual pieces of junk that are clustered round the bottom of the walls of all of the ruins. The ruins themselves are like spray black, dry brush various metallics, wash. Jobs are good and they look great. But again, people could say, yes, Paul, but just fucking paint it all black and dry brush it metallic. It doesn't matter if it's a cable, it doesn't matter if it's a light bulb. I'm sorry, but
immersion breaking.
Yeah, it triggers me. Particularly things like light bulbs and that sort of stuff. It's like a light bulb would not be metallic. I mean, you can sort of say, oh, well, the cable might be mounted in metal housing to protect it, like ducting. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But fucking hell.
And again, we're not even talking about going to the nth degree and doing fucking OSL effects and everything else.
No, I
We're
mean,
just talking about getting basic colours on, giving it an all-over null oil, and basically calling it done.
and the thing is as well, it's like, I just think that with terrain, you should just create the shell of something and then leave the level of detail to the user. I mean, this is sort of personal opinion. I suppose a manufacturer can do what they like, but I just think that it increases the utility. Again, calling what I've bought a load of MDF fantasy stuff, right? MDF fantasy buildings and that sort of thing, and they're basically just flat pieces of MDF that you glue together. And if you want to add climbing ivy and moss, there are 100 ways to add that with like woodland scenics effects and paint and hobby products. Don't sculpt it onto the fucking model. Do you know what I mean? Because what if I want to do it in a winter terrain pit set? Suddenly I've got a rose bush growing out of a wall.
I mean, again,
what the fuck?
You say that, but Underworld's bases of your miniatures even having too much detail.
To be fair,
people will throw back and remember probably when I was bitching on stream about painting Ripper's Snarlfangs and the fact that they had a snake on their base and a spider and everything else.
The worst wonderful. Ones for me were those Stormcast, Stormsires.
No, my worst ones are the again Stormcast out of the starter kit because they've got a load of loose leaves on the ground. But then the Drepper's Wraith Creepers are even worse because they've got fucking railings that they're reeved through and passing through that have got fucking rose bushes and shit growing up.
Yeah,
like not
exactly.
only do you have railings on this miniature, so you've already decided where this miniature is based for me, whether I like it or not. You've gone and added a load of terrain, so I can't even make it look like it's in a dead city or graveyard. Yeah. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we need to get the salt warning on, because I think we're just fucking ranting about GW. But, you know, the thing with Games Workshop is they're a great example, I feel, of how
how far is too far?
Well, I just think that their products would be so much more usable if they took a step back and trimmed back on the design, because we've mentioned that digital sculpting, because the thing is with digital sculpting, back in the old days when everything was sculpted by hand using like clays and modelling
green stuff,
green stuff and other modelling materials, the human, even the best sculptor, has physical limitations on what they can achieve with the tools to get shapes and forms and details onto a model. So you end up with this, you end up with stylizing the miniature partly because of the way you want it to look, but also partly because of the limitations of what you can actually achieve, even if you're doing a 3-up or something that's a larger size and then shrinking it during your mold or casting process. But with digital sculpting, a lot of those restrictions go away, and I wonder as well how much of what we're seeing he sees nothing wrong with ranting about Games Workshop. We can always rely on you, Tim. The other thing that I think might feed into this, and this is supposition, I don't have any evidence for this, is I wonder whether there is enough design oversight or to creative direction. Are companies like Games Workshop recruiting 3D modelers from the video game industry and not putting enough supervision or enough
There's
control?
Nobody who's got a tried and tested eye on the production management side of things to say, look, Keith, yes, your miniature is gorgeous, but whilst we can mold something that's barely 5 mil across and a mil thick, and it it looks gorgeous because it matches all the mini. It's gonna just be a piece of shit, and everybody's gonna snap it off. Is the problem here?
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. You know, it's sort of like, yes, Keith, you've forgotten perhaps you're not working for League of Legends anymore. We're actually making tabletop miniatures. So could we perhaps cut back on some of that?
Can we have it a bit chunkier, please?
Yeah, can we go back to? I like the general forms and I like the style that you've gone with, but can we perhaps turn everything down to 7.5 out of 11?
Can you pixelate it? That would be better.
Fucking, but again, might be a thing. I don't know. I don't know where this. I don't know why it's a thing. To be fair, we're nearly at time anyway, mate.
But yeah, I hope everybody else has appreciated our little rant about the Rogel Dawn tank and how far is too far.
I mean, again, you know, unfortunately, when we said cut down on the details of your models, that's not what we meant. Close, but no banana, as they would say.
Get Keith to stop designing razor blades for minis.
I mean, again,
and get Keith to actually finish off the tank base, and you might all be good.
I mean,
GW.
Here's another thought. I mean, I know that this has been said online. Oh, well, it's only on 3 sprues, and when you look at the sprues, they're all packed with stuff. Here's a thought, right? Instead of having the Rogel Dawn tank so that it can take autocannon sponsons, plasma cannon sponsons, las cannon sponsons, and heavy bolter sponsons, how about it just takes fucking heavy bolter sponsons, strip all of those extra weapons and sponson weapons out the fucking sprue, and put the base in? How about that? Could we do that?
No, because that would be too intelligent.
Oh, don't want to take options away from people. Fucking options away.
Well, don't worry about that, because you'll happily put weapons options in a fucking upgrade kit for Necromunda for each faction and charge fucking 18 quid for fucking £1.50's worth of plastic, you robbing bastards.
I mean, to be fair, that is very true. You make a good point. If that was even a valid argument, how come when I bought my Van Sar kit, I didn't get auto pistols, bolt pistols, fucking...
You should have had every single option in that kit for the minis that came in that kit.
Yes.
Instead, you had to go out and spend basically the same price as another kit to buy weapons options, and it doesn't even give you...
Well, even
what you can make a legal list out of, because I don't think it gives you enough melters. Because technically, if you want to be super broken in Necromunda, you can take 2 melters a list.
Do you know what? It's not even that. It's just like, why didn't you give me, and I don't want 10 of everything, just give me 3 of everything that's on the weapon chart in Necromunda. Oh no, because if you did that, it would be like 12 sprues just for the fucking weapons. You know, perhaps all this choice is too much fucking choice. You know,
I think we've hit the nail on the head here. We've come from how detailed is too detailed to too much choice.
Yeah, stay tuned for another live stream on why you can't balance your fucking game when every single model can take 27 different weapon options. Fucking hell.
Well, I've even said it to you, because obviously, again, this is the other egregious thing, right? Space Marines, the poster boys. You've got me fucking started now.
Well, don't get too carried away, because you got 2 minutes.
Space Marines, Stern Guard. They can take combi weapons. So what do we not give you in the box? Enough combi weapons to pack out the entire squad, and God forbid that you don't want... you want all of the same combi weapon, because I don't know, you play Salamanders... and a squad of Stern Guard running around with Vulcan is broken, so instead you can take a Plasma combi and a Flamer combi and a Melter combi, but God forbid you actually want to take just, I don't know, all Melters.
I'll tell you what they should have done. They should have given you all the combi melters, and then left the legs off.
I don't even care, right? I don't even care
That would have been
if I have to glue and assemble those myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so they do
If
them
I've
as
got to
sub parts.
glue the melter parts to my combi weapon.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Just give it to me.
I mean,
Don't.
do you know what, mate? We've gone through the whole thing. We've gone nearly an hour on this topic because we started a little bit late, and we haven't even mentioned scale and how that impacts on model detail. Because obviously, we did touch upon it a little bit when we mentioned that. Obviously, when you're talking about a piece for scale, like a scale modeling kit, it'll generally be a larger, or a display piece. It might be a larger size. But in wargaming, obviously, you've got, in the historics, you've got 2mm and tiny
6 mil, 10 mil.
6, 10, 15, 20, right the way up to 32, 35 mil.
54.
54 mil gaming, yeah. Basically, gaming's getting bigger all the time, isn't it? I mean, Marvel Crisis Marvel Crisis is nearly 35 mil. I think the new Shatterpoint's 35, isn't it? But we haven't even touched on, because obviously that makes a difference. If you're manufacturing your models and they're 2.5 inches, 3 inches tall, you can get more details on them. But should you?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, again, it comes down to how many have I got to paint? What am I using them for? I mean, having said that, do you know what? Marvel Crisis Protocol, another... I mean, I know it's perhaps Fantasy Flight or Atomic Mass Games, as it is now, don't deserve any credit, because essentially a superhero is probably one of the most stripped down, representative miniatures you can get. Superhero costumes are basically just weird fabric colours and capes, and you know what I mean? Even Batman's utility belt is the most understated piece of a kit in the world. But I suppose Doc Octopus has got all the arms and stuff. But generally, superheroes are quite simple things. But, you know, all credit to MCP. The models are great because you've got some weird and wacky colours to paint and some probably quite complex colour patterning.
Or metallic metals and other elements.
But they're not fucking buried in detail. But do you know what? I wonder if that's why those MCP models are some of the most beautiful ones you'll see on Instagram and Facebook. Because you can fucking spend your time doing all those blends, get those beautiful colour modulations.
Surface area to work with.
And you haven't got all the details to worry about. So you can just put the hobby hours into refining, painting what's there brilliantly. I don't know. So we've ranted for long enough, I think. You'll have to let us know what you guys think in the comments below.
Join us next week where we'll try not to kick GW for a change. I'm not making any promises.
What we're gonna be like, we're gonna be Disney next week. We're gonna be positive, upbeat, singing songs. It's gonna be no negativity, no salt. Who am I kidding? What the fuck?
That's not the Yellow Belly Tabletop, is it?
I think I'm getting a bit feverish. I think I might have to go for a lie down. But yeah, let us know in the comments, guys. I mean, who are the model companies out there that you think absolutely nail it? They've got the right level of detail. The products nail what they're trying to do, and they look fucking great doing it.
I mean, I haven't even mentioned 3D printing in this entire discussion, because some of those minis, like the Punga stuff that I've shown off on stream before, beautiful, characterful minis. Guess what? They're all one piece, no assembly required.
Yeah. And how are they for detail, though? Relating it to the topic.
Yeah,
but
amazing.
Not over the top.
No, not over the top. I mean, the referee's got a whistle in one hand, cards in his pocket, and a sandwich that he's carrying, but he's a halfling. It's not like he's got tags around his neck and everything else, like some of the referees and stuff. That, like the referee, you compare the referee from Punga that I've got, the halfling, to the dwarf one that you can get from GW is official. He's got his whistle up to his mouth. He's got his the lanyard off his whistle hanging down around his wrist. He's blowing it. He's gesticulating a card at a player. He's got hair and stuff all down his thing. I think he's got something on his back as well. It's just ridiculous.
Those tree men were some of the most busy models in that set, weren't they?
Yes,
there was a lot going on the tree men, to be
but
fair.
They're
wasn't
bigger.
there? And they're sort of like centerpiece models, I guess. You're only supposed to be painting 1 or 2 tree men for your whole team. You're not painting 15 of them.
No.
So again, that argument does swing in, doesn't it? How many are you painting?
Again, it's like the Amazon Blood Bowl team with the bloody feathers all over them and snakes wrapped up their arm and everything else. And don't get me wrong, gorgeous miniatures, all right to assemble, but I am dreading painting them.
Yeah, which is not. It shouldn't be like that.
The amount of detail on them, it's just ridiculous.
Again, my view of this is tinged because of my age. So obviously, I've been painting and collecting models since the late 80s, and I've seen things change dramatically, and it's not all bad. Generally, the quality of models has improved amazingly. With the choice of materials we've got now is amazing compared to what it was. So I don't want to sit here and be a fucking miserable old grognard and say, it was all better in my day, because it wasn't all better.
Aspects were better,
but it's what I said earlier. What level of detail does your model need? Well, first of all, ask yourself what your model is for. And again, Games Workshop, maybe Games Workshop's underlying issue is that they've got these people in the boardroom that keep saying, well, half of our customers don't play games for these. These are display pieces. So we need to be competing with the companies who are marketing display quality models. Yeah,
but then there's a massive flaw in that plan or lack thereof. And on that note, I think we should end it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So,
because we'll just
everyone.
We'll just keep going in circles and ranting.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you for everybody who was in the chat. You guys are complete fucking legends, as usual. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. If you're catching up with us later on YouTube, thank you very much also. If you can find time to do only one thing, please click the like button on the video, as it really does help to spread us to the YouTube algorithm. Obviously, we're only a small channel, but every little interaction has value, which is amazing. Display quality models had bottoms to their tags. Now, Tim, I'm sure that's universally true. Right, next week, if you can find any models that come part finished from the Airfix line, please put them in the comments below and we'll discuss them on next week's show.
I have a lot of part finished Airfix models, but that's because I don't finish my models.
Maybe Bandai are missing a trick. Bandai should start doing kits where there's part A and part B to finish it, and make it optional, so you can sort of like leave the hands off or something. Maybe GW are ploughing a new trend. You never know, do you? Anyway, we're getting very much up our own arses here. So thank you very much, everybody. And with that, we will see you next week.